This one's gonna be interesting. What do y'all think men struggle with when it comes to the dating market with women?
From what I've heard, it's the pressure of having to meet the grand expectation and
the unrealistic
expectation.
Right.
The unrealistic and the grand expectations. And for me particularly, I honestly don't think that reasonable women are demanding something that is ridiculous. I think that what makes it ridiculous is that the resources and the support don't exist for a woman to demand to be as traditional as she would like. So what I mean by that is, we'll use women as an example. If we expect our women to be able to cook and clean, then we need to bring home ec back in school. If we expect our men to be handy and to be able to handle financials, then we need to make a focus of that in school. And maybe a woman is not going to get home ec, but there are Girl Scouts. I know there's Boy Scouts of America as well, but there are groups and opportunities for young ladies to be groomed in a fashion where they can learn to cook or they can learn to do some of these domestic things that can create a house, shift the house into a home, whereas men don't have that, right? So if you're a man and you want to be high value, right? You want to be a high value man and you want to have all these things, you're less likely to find a group organically, meaning away from your parents, like your parents, somebody in your network, somebody on your block, right? You're less likely to find that than a young lady would. So I feel like that's what makes it increasingly unfair. I put that on society. It's our responsibility as a collective. If we're going to say this is what a man is, then we need to create resources at the ground level so that men can glean from that, they can eat from that, and become the man that they desire.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead. Yeah.
I agree with you, but then I disagree with you at the same time because we're in 2023, right? Going into 2024, there's resources all over the place. So if we don't know, because as a woman, if we don't know something, we're gonna figure it out. And I feel like it should be the same thing with men. If you don't have the resource, or if you didn't grow up knowing this, then go find that. Because you can go through YouTube. There's classes. There's mentorship for men. There's a whole bunch of different things out there that you can search for, so you don't have that excuse.
I don't think it's at the same scale.
Yeah, I think, and I get where you're coming from, but being a man and looking at the resources, I'm gonna be honest with you, there's not as many resources available to the young black men and black boys as there are to black women. Like, you know what I mean? And even when we try to look up for our businesses, the specific loans, grants, just for black men, there's none. But when you type in, take out black men and put black women, there's a whole list of those motherfuckers. And, even when it comes to the workforce, sometimes, and I'm not saying this is in a negative way, but sometimes the employer might hire that woman because it's looked at more as a diversity hire than that man that's who equally is as qualified. But let me get the woman because it'll go towards my quota or whatever the case is. Like, so I'm saying that there is certain disadvantages that men have to face, and I'm not saying that's an excuse, but it is something that we do have to.
I remember when I was looking up loans for our business, and I was talking to one of my friends that worked at a bank, and he was telling me, I might want to consider getting a female calls and make it easy for you. Like, I was like, damn, like you can't get nothing, like just us. Like, it's tough.
And I think as a woman too, me being a coach, there are certain privileges that I have as a woman that make it really hard for me to understand what men go through because I'm walking and I don't even recognize the privileges that I have. And they really actually exist. It happens in focus groups. It happens when, not just in coaching, like when I do my one-on-ones, more so like when I'm doing group focus groups and I'm intentional about retrieving information about men's experiences. And when there's a collective response, like the entire group of men are nodding in agreement, I'm the only one looking there like, really, this exists? It's mind-blowing. Like I remember one time I had a focus group and one of the guys said that his biggest challenge with women is that he feels that women are ungrateful. And I'm thinking that's his experience until I looked on the Zoom, right? Because it was during the pandemic. And everybody's like, yeah, like, somebody said that the sky was blue. Like, it was very natural. It didn't even grieve them. It didn't bother them. It wasn't like an uproar. There wasn't something that they wanted to discuss and get into and to delve into. I was the one that wanted to delve into it because I had not heard this before, or it didn't like click. Because if I have multiple, one-on-ones or group and a guy says it, I'm not thinking like, well, I heard the last 3 gentlemen that I coached say the same thing. It doesn't happen like that. So when I asked him for his feedback and he helped me to understand, it's just like, I give my girl a lot of grace. But when if I do the same thing that my girl does, it's World War III.
But let me tell you, Cassandra, I don't think that that's exclusive for men or women. I think one of the biggest issues is that we keep dividing the sexes, and we really have very similar experiences. My group chat, they call me All Lives Alley, because all I do is talk about, nope, women experience that, nope, men experience that. Women will tell you the same thing. Men are ungrateful. I wash his clothes. I take care of his kid. I carried his kid. I fixed his credit. I bought him a new car. We all have the same complaints. We have the same complaints. I think the issue is that because we've become so divisive as a society, and I think even strategically amongst Black men and Black women, that we think that it's the other side that has the problem and not us. Just as you just said that it didn't click to you, like some of the grace that we're given as women. I'm sure the guys, a conversation I had with my husband, I said, yo, when I walk down the street at night, I'm taking my keys and I'm putting it through my fingers, waiting for somebody to walk up on me so I can, right? He can walk through the streets at night with no concern. I'm sure men are not concerned about getting raped when they go to come home from the club, or covering their drink so that no one puts a roofie in there. We all have things that we are worried about, that we're concerned about, that the other doesn't.
Correct.
So again, it's more about realizing that we're both struggling in some way, and then how can we meet halfway so we can build a better society, a better community, versus who has it worse off.
I agree.
So what do you see as far as the struggles that some single men have when it comes to the dating market?
Oh, man, it's plentiful. So, no, it is a struggle. So one thing, and I talk to Cassandra about this all the time, the unrealistic expectations, where women will have a list that is extensive of what they require and desire out of a gentleman, and they either don't have those things or can't match them. Now, of course, everything won't be an exact match. It's yin and yang for a reason. But compliment, let's be realistic. There was a woman, which is why I mentioned the 6-foot chocolate with the beard. So I have a post that says something about be the list. And she says, well, I can't be the list because my list has 6-foot chocolate with the beard. And I said, okay, this is what I want you to think about. Obviously, you're not going to be an exact replica, right? This is what I want you to think about. I want you to think about how desirable the 6-foot chocolate with the beard is. Are you just as desirable as that? Whatever society might mark that is. They might say it might be a big butt, flat stomach, big titties that sit up like this. Whatever society may define as the most attractive characteristics in a woman, do you have that? Because you're going to have to compete, sis. And that's one of the issues, that guys are held to a standard many times that's unrealistic. And again, I'm sure it's the other way around too, but many times very shallow. Very shallow things, the things that will not give you sustenance, the things that will not allow you to have a lifelong committed relationship with your partner. He's 6 foot now, but who's gonna care when he's in a cane and he's 5'5" because y'all are 70 years old, right? Who cares about her titties standing up like this when she done birthed 3 of your kids? Like, these are the things that people are looking into that don't have longevity, and that's why our relationships are shit.
That's great. 'Cause on our show, plenty of times we have women who say, yeah, I had the perfect guy, but he wasn't quite Eddie Murphy enough. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, damn, like he had every characteristic, but because he's not a comedian or he didn't make you laugh as much, you automatically disqualified him. You know what I mean? So that goes to a man could check off 9 out of 10, but if he ain't 10 out of 10, then now it's, oh, well, I'm settling. We hear that a lot of times. Like, if they don't get 10 out of 10, then they're settling. Like, you know what I mean? And that can make it difficult for men, hardworking, just honest men that want to treat a woman right.
For men, because he won.
To read out.
He won.
Because you can look at it like that, yep.
If the complaint is that women are ungrateful, inherently ungrateful, right? Meaning, like, it's World War III. If I do something, she does the same thing, then he's, by proxy, he's been eliminated out of having to deal with her, having this laundry list of expectations that he's not going to be able to meet because he's a human being. So one of the things that I encourage men to experience and recognize is, like, one, choose a woman that chooses you, right? And if somebody's showing you who they are, like they say, believe them. You know what I'm saying? So don't, a woman who feels so, and also I kind of want to add a little bit of balance to this. There are things that women ask of men that seem unreasonable, but a lot of them can be traced biologically, right, to a primitive experience. And one of the reasons why women do want a man that's funny is because some women are neurodivergent, or some women are a little bit neurotic, and they have a hard time with their anxiety, and having some comic relief is more survival than it is superficial. It occurs as superficial, but really biologically what she's saying is, I'm not really capable of regulating my emotions to the best of my ability, and I've noticed that when I'm with a man who makes me laugh, It helps me to see, like, have levity and lightness in my life. So, you know, it's hard when we hear these conversations. Like, I've seen some of these things, like, online where people are talking, women are giving their experiences and things that they want. And a lot of times I'm looking at it like, that's science. The way it came out was rough. It was nasty.
Right. The same thing with the height. Like, it is biological, right? Like, the assumption is that a taller man or more buff man is going to be more likely to protect. So, right, but then we also are in 2023 and we have to leave, like, the caveman ideology behind and have to be more realistic, right?
Yeah.
And so that's one of the issues. But the guys, they're not innocent either. There's a lot of unrealistic expectations that are coming from that side. And that's why I said we're not that different as we like to imagine ourselves to be.
Some of the unrealistic expectations you have from it.
The number one, biggest one that I 100% agree on is this expectation of a financial split, a 50-50 split, or something close to that, 60-40. We are in a capitalistic society. It is realistic that two parties are contributing to the household relatively equally financially. However, guys don't see, seemingly, some guys don't see the household responsibility being that 50-50 split. So if I'm contributing to the household in terms of finances as equally as you are, but you're not changing as many diapers, you're not doing as much laundry, you're not cooking the meals, that work is way harder.
Way harder.
I would much rather go back to work than be a stay-at-home mom. And I say that, I love you, baby. Right? It is hard. It is hard as hell. And I think, relatively speaking, gentlemen don't appreciate that.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that personally bothers me when I see these conversations online. And this falsehood around men paying 100%. What major city? New York, Miami, Chicago, LA? There's no way that we can live a comfortable life for the most part if there's only one income. So, and we talk a lot of shit, but in reality, a lot of women are contributing that 50%, but that 50% is not being given in the household responsibility, which is way more work.
I think that's and I think that's for, even when we have these conversations, I don't think we ever mean 50 with the bills. But again, if all my money does have to go to the bills, I'm not gonna be able to save as much money for a rainy day. Like, you know what I mean? So therefore your money can be used to go into savings, or maybe you can use that money to invest into, you know, stocks or whatever the case is. It doesn't have to be to the bills, but just know I'm paying all the bills. I'm not gonna have money to go on vacations. Like, you know what I mean? There's not that much leftover money I'm gonna have to just do X, Y, and Z. So therefore you can use your money for other things.
I don't even think that's a big argument, though. I think the bigger argument that we hear is that for the gentlemen who are in a position to pay 100% and still live a comfortable lifestyle, they think that that's enough. But that's still unreasonable, because if you're working 50 hours a week, 128 hours is to this baby and this household. So even if you are paying all the bills, that still does not alleviate your responsibility to contributing to the household somewhat. Of course, if that woman is home from 8 to 5 when you're out, yes, she needs to be holding it down. But then when you come home at 6 o'clock, don't think that you're going to drop your shoes and just go play the game. Like, you still have to contribute to that household, because that woman is working all day, 7 days a week, no vacation, no paid time, no sick. So even working a full-time job and contributing 100% is still not equivalent to a stay-at-home mom to children.
And this is under the assumptions that they got kids.
Yes, children.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I don't disagree with anything you said. I think a man should also contribute to the household. But again, are women really communicating that when we do have these conversations? Because a lot of times women would just say the man has to provide everything, and there is no other, like, well, and he also has to do it. Like, most women are just they're just saying that a man should provide. They're not saying anything else. So again, men are getting confused, because that's all we hear is you have to provide 100%.
Right.
And it just ends at that. It's a period. There's nothing else after that.
Any woman who is saying that is more than likely speaking from theoretically. So she is imagining what life would be like, and she is pulling and drawing information from other social media posts, short clips, chopped up pieces of information.
Yes.
And she is deciding, and it's also coming from fear of seeing your mom or your grandmother, sans father, dad is not in the home, grandpa's not there, and I don't want to be that. I'm rejecting what I saw.
Yes.
And so they are not able to communicate effectively and specifically. So what they end up doing is over communicating an argument that they believe lands. They think that the point that they're making, that's it, like they hit the target. And that's because they're living from theory. But any woman, and I know, at least on this, I don't know you too much yet. Do you have any kids? Not yet. Okay. Any woman that has, once you have that baby and you recognize what it takes to keep that baby just alive, forget educated and enriched, just to keep this baby alive for that first year, it changes in the entire dialogue. And herein lies the description that Allison is not able to eloquently give and provide, which is it's around the clock, constant, consistent. You're not getting a thank you. You're not getting a plaque. Your baby's
You are
not
literally getting shitted on.
Yeah.
Like literally.
Literally.
Right.
You're not, nobody is going to see that you had a perfect week and now you get a plaque on the wall and so you get to have drinks and food on us. There's none of that. It's a thankless job and you have to show up every single day. You don't have a moment to break down. You cannot afford to break down. And so I think what happens is that home life, people want to play house. We want to play house. We want to play what we didn't have. When we reflect back on what we didn't have, we're projecting now. And when we project these ideals without really understanding what it takes, that's where the divisiveness comes in. No, you're supposed to be doing this and you're supposed to be doing that. And it's like, come on now, really? Like, who cares if I wash 3 to 4 dishes and none of them are mine? Like, really, come on now. It's our house. And so the hour is missing. So I do appreciate, Allison, that you bring in the fact of the matter that these gender wars, we're doing less good for one another. The reason why I appreciate being a woman and being able to speak for some of the men's experiences, I'm not a men's expert, just an advocate, is that if you, as an example, if I'm going to get a car, right? I have a car and I know that this car runs on gas. It needs oil. I got to change the oil. I got to do all these things. I know this is how this car is ran. You know what people do when they get in the car? They get in the car and they don't put the gas in. And when they're about to get to their destination and they start to see that the car's not really moving as much as they wanted to, what do they start doing? They look at the tank and they're like, damn, it's on. What do you start doing? You start banging the car. Come on, baby. Don't feel on me.
Yeah.
You start talking to the car. You don't talk to yourself. You don't be like, Cassandra, have some accountability. You should put some gas in your car. No, you end up projecting the frustration on the car to blame the car for what it's naturally not able to do because you did not serve it. And so when you're in a relationship and you're looking at the woman that you have or the man that you have and now they're run down because you didn't take the time to recognize you need gasoline, I need water, right? I'm not going to put water in the gasoline tank. Water helps me run and be efficient. Gasoline helps this car. So that's what's the problem with the reciprocity conversation is like, it has to look the exact same way. And reciprocity, that's not reciprocity. Reciprocity means I'm able to identify and observe and give you what you need because that's what you need. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to question you. I'm not going to argue you. So if women need a little bit of tenderness and a little, you know what I'm saying? A little bit of softness. You know, women need that. So I tell men, just go ahead and give it, right? And if a man needs your ear, he needs you to not judge him and needs you to believe him, just go ahead and give it. Like what does it charge you to give somebody something that you don't understand why it fuels them? Just go ahead and provide.
I love that metaphor.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
That was great.
I think a lot of the times in these conversations, you know, we are living either vicariously through somebody else's past trauma. A lot of us never even experienced the trauma that we be talking about.
Yes.
And we want to, you know, we're speaking from a fearmonger aspect.
Yeah.
And, you know, even with the new Color Purple movie that's coming out, I've never been a fan of Color Purple or any movies like that because it does seem very...
Color Purple?
Huh?
You watch Color Purple?
Yeah, I seen most of it. Like,
Most
but
of it you watch.
I've never finished the whole thing because I don't like watching movies like that because, you know, it just doesn't, it shows a level of dysfunction within the Black community, which was at the time is true, but when you keep recycling these same content,
like slave movies.
yeah, it's like that. Then it comes
Yeah.
now. It's like, oh man, I seen how she was living. I'm no way I'm gonna put myself in that situation. And now you don't have a tendency to value family no more because you view a man or a woman might either utilize you or take advantage of you. Now we just like, you know what? I'd rather be single. I don't need a man. I don't need a woman. And that's where these conversations become so divisive.